we must have a conversation on tonight. Welcome to Tyrone Bowman Live. Tonight I'm going to talk about Sean Diddy Combs and the alleged charges that he has been charged with. I'm going to be talking about the two-tier judicial system, how it is disproportionately used as a weapon against black men and black people in general. So come on in, everybody. Welcome to Tyrone Bowman Live. I found an article as reported by NBC News. The headline reads, Judge orders Sean Diddy Combs sent to jail while he awaits sex trafficking trial. Combs, who pleaded not guilty to charges of sex trafficking, racketeering, and transportation to engage in prostitution, was denied bail. All right. I'm quite sure this is going to make some people angry, but nevertheless, conversation must be had, as I said a few moments ago. So according to NBC News, Sean Diddy Combs, the spotlight adoring music impresario, who helped launch the careers of some of the biggest names in hip-hop and R&B, was denied bail and sent to jail Tuesday after being accused in a 3-count federal indictment of having used his sprawling business empire to abuse, threaten, and traffic women in order to fulfill his sexual desires and protect his reputation. Prosecutors in the Southern District of New York accused Combs of sex trafficking, racketeering, and transportation to engage in prostitution in the indictment unsealed on Tuesday. Now, I actually saw the indictment, and once I have time to read the entire indictment, I'm going to actually talk about it here on my YouTube channel. Now, remember, these charges are alleged. He has not been convicted of anything as of yet. But this is the question. Why is he denied bail when you have a convicted felon like Donald Trump, who is not only a convicted felon, but he's saying all types of outlandish things out of his mouth and recklessly accusing the Democrats of trying to have him assassinated before the election? And he, a privileged white man, billionaire with connections on probably every continent, an individual who made sure he put selected judges on the Supreme Court and on the federal bench as well, so that when the time comes, they would do him all these favors. But he's allowed to be out on bail, pending sentencing, and even in some of his cases, they allow the sentencing to be deferred. This man is doing any and everything in an attempt to keep his name alive in the news, to hog the spotlight from everybody else, suck all the oxygen out of the air, because everything is about him and nobody else, lie, cheat, and steal, as long as he can become the president of the United States. And he's talking about how the rhetoric of the Democrats had caused this man to allegedly attempt to assassinate him. So why are you going to put the blame on the Democrats? So the two-tier judicial system is this. You have an entertainer who is a music mogul, or entertainment rather, music mogul, Diddy. We know him as Diddy, Puffy, etc. Sean Diddy Combs. Now, he's denied bail. His lawyer already said, we will post $50 million up front, electronic monitoring. He can report as many times as you want. He can remain inside his home. One of his homes, he says, estimated at $84 million. He told the court, we'll use that home as collateral to post the bail. Bail denied. Why? Because he's a black man. It's just that simple. And the U.S. District Attorney, who is bringing the charges against him, is a black man. You got to notice the sequence of order, the way things are unfolding here, as was in the case of R. Kelly. Now, I'm not saying R. Kelly was exactly innocent, etc. Notice this. If Diddy is convicted, the first thing they're going to say is that you can't blame white people for it because we gave the person who brought the charges against him was a black United States attorney. See, that's the problem. Trump is allowed to roam free. Trump says any and everything he wants to in the face of the government, defies the Constitution, blatantly wants to usurp the rights of everybody else because he thinks he's the only one. You know, impresario Trump, the one who wants to be dear leader, dear president, dear dictator, the last hurrah, the one who idolizes Hitler. Mein Kampf, it's one of his favorite books to read. But you mean to tell me Diddy, who has not been convicted of any crimes during his lifetime? And ladies and gentlemen, know this. When the feds raided his home earlier this year down in Miami, that wasn't by accident. That was orchestrated to put on a show before the world, and the show they did put on. And what happened to the young white guy? Remember the young white guy? All the drugs were found on him. What did he do? He lawyered up real quickly. He's from Miami, by the way. He lawyered up and got a lawyer. Haven't heard anything else about him. Mark my words, he's going to be one of the key witnesses who turn state's evidence and testify against him. To do what? In an attempt to save his behind. Hey, listen, I'm working with the equipment that I got. Can't talk any louder. Doing the best I can. So turn up the volume on your phone. I'm working with what I got. So when you look at it, he is going to turn state's evidence and along with a whole bunch of other people in an attempt to convict him. Watch how it goes down. Pay close attention to how it's going to unfold. And the reason why, and I'm about to get into why they scoped the charges the way that they have to ensure that there is a conviction. So, according to NBC News, Sean Diddy Combs, a spotlight-adoring music impresario who helped launch the careers of some of the biggest names in hip-hop and R&B, was denied bail and sent to jail Tuesday after being accused in a 3-count federal indictment of having used his sprawling business empire to abuse, threaten, and traffic women in order to fulfill his sexual desires and protect his reputation. Prosecutors in the Southern District of New York accused Combs of sex trafficking, racketeering, and transportation to engage in prostitution in the indictment unsealed Tuesday. Notice the 3 charges: sex trafficking at the top of the list, racketeering, what is he, part of the mafioso now? And transportation to engage in prostitution. It accuses Combs, 54, along with members of his security and household staff, personal assistants, and other associates in his businesses of, quote, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. That's just some of the charges they have. Does this sound familiar the same way that they did R. Kelly? The same exact charges. They used a RICO statute used for mafiosos to get a conviction in the R. Kelly case. The indictment centers around, and notice this, why is this happening just before the election takes place in November? Why now? They could have done this during the summertime. They could have arrested him when they first raided his homes. They could have arrested him on the tarmac when he was boarding the plane to go travel. They could have done this in July. They could have done it in August. Because Diddy is one of the main individuals who is Vice President Kamala Harris, and he definitely probably would have been campaigning for her and helping to, quote unquote, rock the vote at the same time. All of this is staged, but Trump remains, he defies the court orders, he defies the gag orders, he probably sticks up his middle finger against the judges. He doesn't give a blank. And he's making sure that he defies everything that they tell him not to do. He does it anyway. The indictment centers around Combs's alleged orchestration of elaborate sex parties that he called freak-offs, and that included the distribution of drugs, the transportation of sex workers across state and international lines, and the use of force and threats against women who were forced to participate. He appeared somber during his arraignment Tuesday in Manhattan, where he pleaded not guilty and was denied bail in front of his three adult sons and other supporters. Two of the charges carry a maximum sentence of life in prison. Prosecutors had asked that he remain jailed until trial. Now, listen, he better get himself an expert legal team. Don't depend upon one single attorney. You're a billionaire. Get yourself an expert legal team of lawyers, not just one. You get yourself a team, and y'all go to war legally because your life is on the line. In the memo supporting that request, U.S. Attorney Damian Williams, who is black, said Combs' disposition to violence cannot be reasonably prevented through bail conditions and called the rapper turned mogul a flight risk who poses a significant danger to the community. The memo, which says the government interviewed more than 50 victims and witnesses. Well, why are they calling them victims and nobody has come forth and pressed charges against them? So you're already criminalizing him and you're already condemning him and you're already having sentenced and adjudicated before the trial even takes place. That's a violation of his constitutional rights. According to the Constitution, he is allowed to be out on bail. So the memo, which says the government interviewed more than 50 victims and witnesses, describes decades of alleged physical abuse by Combs against women, including some he was romantically involved with, and the alleged kidnapping in 2011 of a person identified only as individual 1 as reasons he should be detained. The memo also says that agents recovered 3 AR-15s, 2 of which were broken down into parts with magazines loaded in them. In Combs' bedroom closet during the search of his Miami home in March, the serial numbers on the AR-15s were defaced, Williams says. So the numbers were erased. That right there does not look good at all. If you have guns in your home legally and they're registered properly, which, if you're not a convicted felon, you're allowed to have a firearm in your home, or firearms, as they call them. And since they say in New York City, no convicted felon is allowed to vote, they say have that same law down in Florida, but Governor Ron DeSantis, another crony of Trump's, already said, oh, he's going to allow Trump to vote. So you're a hypocrite, that's what you are. These people frequently violate the law and break the law. What about Matt Gaetz, Congressman Matt Gaetz, who they have video footage of him with a teenage girl, underage teenage girl. They have verified proof that he's a pedophile. No charges have been brought against him. He's still allowed to serve as a congressman. But if that was a black congressman doing the same thing that he was alleged to have done, he would have been thrown out of office a long time ago. Oh, this is what Republicans do. They lie for each other. They cover up for each other. They pontificate for each other. They make it their business to break the law for each other. They make it their business to have nonsensible investigations after investigations and after investigations, and demanding people to come before the Senate. During the hearing, Assistant U.S. Attorney Emily Johnson said Combs' history of substance abuse was also among the reasons he should be jailed until trial. After he was arrested Monday night at a hotel in Manhattan where he was staying, she said, law enforcement found a pink powder in his room that is believed to be a narcotic. Did they test it? That's why his lawyers must fight vigorously for him, whether people like it or not. They got to fight because his life is on the line. Pay attention to this case because this could be any of us. Combs' attorney had proposed he be released on a $50 million bond, which they say is secured by equity in his $48 million home in Miami, the same home they raided. In a letter to Judge Robin Tarnowski, they said Combs was not a flight risk and that his legal counsel was in possession of his passport as well as those of his mother and his 4 daughters, but Tarnowski denied the request, citing, among other things, Combs' substance abuse and anger issues. I bet you in money she's a Republican. I'm going to look her up. I believe she's a Republican judge, trying her best to be hard on crime and setting an example. Nobody's broken any more laws than Donald Trump. Yes, I know his supporters don't like to hear because they don't give a damn about what he says or does, as long as they tell him what they want to hear. And America does not need him in the White House again. He damn near destroyed the White House when he was in it. Took everything that he could take out of it, pillaged everything, stored it in his hotels, caused the insurrection, incited the insurrection. People still in prison today, he calls them patriots. They're thugs. They're hooligans. They're law violators. That's what they are. The 2-tiered judicial system is one for rich white men, not rich black men. Rich white men get the preferential treatment. Billionaire black men do not get the same treatment as billionaire white men do. They don't do it unless they want to make an example of that individual. They should demand for a change of venue right away, because this judge is not going to be fair during the course of the trial. The indictment demands that Combs forfeit any property and money used to commit the crimes he is accused of, though it doesn't specify any particular asset or amount. You can't confiscate his money and his properties because you think that he is running a criminal enterprise. I think they are overcharging him, and that might be the downfall of this case. When they want to get a conviction, they overcharge. Because if they don't convict you on some, they'll convict you on other things. So overcharge the person. And this is a case I'm going to be following through to the very end. Williams reflected on Combs' fall from grace Tuesday. He didn't fall from grace. You can't fall from grace. A year ago, Sean Combs stood in Times Square and was handed the key to New York City. He said today he's been indicted and will face justice in the Southern District of New York. Outside the courthouse Tuesday morning, Mark Agnifilio, one of Combs' attorneys, said Combs is innocent and would plead not guilty. He's going to fight this with all of his energy and all of his might and the full confidence of his lawyers. Agnifilio told reporters, and I expect a long battle with a good result for Mr. Combs. Remember years ago when Ben Affleck got in trouble? That trouble disappeared. Too many individuals have skirted justice. But when it comes to a black man, they're going to use the black man to make an example out of everybody. And this is true. Combs is he is the highest profile music artist to face sexual misconduct charges since the R&B singer R. Kelly, born Robert Sylvester Kelly, was sentenced in 2022 to more than 30 years in prison for sexually abusing fans, some of them children, racketeering, and sex trafficking. You see that? Racketeering and sex trafficking. Combs will help boost the careers of some of the biggest names in hip-hop and R&B, including the notorious B.I.G. Mr. Big, Mary J. Blige, and Usher. Has seen star dim since a bombshell lawsuit filed in November by his former longtime girlfriend, Cassandra Ventura. Ventura, an R&B singer known as Cassie, accused him of years of physical and sexual abuse. That probably is true. The two settled the lawsuit in one day without disclosing the terms and with Combs denying any wrongdoing because he didn't want it to go to trial. Many other allegations in the indictment closely mirror claims Ventura made in her lawsuit, including that he forced women to have sex with male prostitutes and participated in drug-fueled orgies that Combs called freak-offs. The 14-page indictment, which I will read in its entirety, called them elaborate and produced sex performances that Combs is alleged to have arranged, directed, masturbated during, and often electronically recorded. They occurred regularly sometimes, lasted multiple days, and often involved multiple commercial sex workers. Quote unquote, according to the indictment, which says that when federal agents raided Combs' homes in Los Angeles and Miami in March, they seized various freak-off supplies, including narcotics and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. Williams said they also seized electronic devices that contained images and videos of the freak-offs with multiple victims. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you what's going on here. Some very powerful forces in the entertainment industry and in his world, they want him locked up for whatever reason and or reasons. This is not happening by accident. And those powers that be, all the videotapes that they have with all these different people on them, you can believe there's some very powerful people on those video tapes, or the video, or the DVD, or whatever they got. And they do not want this man free on the streets. A lot more is going to come out during the course of this trial. The indictment continues to say, Combs and his business associates would lure women into his world, often under the pretense of a romantic relationship, and then use force, threats, and coercion, including drugs, to keep them obedient and compliant. To compel their participation in freak-offs, no victims are named in the indictment. The sex trafficking court mentions victim 1, whose interactions with Combs, as described in the indictment, mirrors those described in Ventura's lawsuit. Victim number 1 is going to be a major witness. The indictment, for instance, mentions a 2016 assault on Ventura that was captured on hotel surveillance video and published by CNN-MA. Combs admitted to his behavior in the video and an apology after its release. According to the indictment, Combs attempted to bribe a member of the hotel security staff who had intervened. That video was horrible, and we only saw some of it. So I'm quite sure they've got assault and battery charges to apply as well. Thank you all for your lovely comments. Keep them coming. Love it very much. Let me drink some haterade juice in your honor. Thank you. Haterade juice just for y'all. Keep the comments coming. Love them. Love them very much. So, it's going to go to trial. Charges are not going to be dropped. So, when his authority or reputation was threatened with negative publicity, the indictment alleges, including around late 2023 after Ventura's lawsuit was filed, Combs and members and associates of his enterprise were alleged to have pressured witnesses and victims, including through attempted bribery, to stay silent and not report what they experienced or knew to law enforcement, according to the indictment. Ventura's attorney, Douglas Wigdor, declined to comment on the indictment. At the news conference Tuesday, Williams, the U.S. attorney, said Combs had not acted alone and indicated it was possible others may still face charges. He said he could not specify how many people are believed to have been victimized by Combs, but stressed that the investigation is active and encouraged anyone with information about this case to come forward and do it quickly. Notice the word quickly. They want this done and over with. So Combs has been charged with RICO conspiracy to use his business and employees of that business and other close associates to get his way, Williams said. Since Ventura's lawsuit, several others have accused Combs in separate lawsuits of sexual assault or sexual misconduct. Combs' attorneys are fighting those suits and have vehemently denied the allegations. Now listen, some folk are going to come forward and they're going to be telling outright lies because they just want to make some money. Some of them, and some are real victims. But you're going to have the others who are trying to get a quick payday off of him. You watch what happens. People are going to start making deals with the U.S. District Attorney. They're going to start making deals real quick when they start charging them. Listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. I've been on the other side. I know what it is to be incarcerated. I know what it is to face a judge. I know what it is to be tried, falsely accused and falsely convicted. I know what it's like. And I'm telling you now, this is not going to end well for a lot of people. But I will keep you all updated. Please subscribe to the channel, Tyrone Bowman Live. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Never surrender, never quit.